He was once the golden boy of R&B, the voice of a generation, the next Michael Jackson. But for every chart-topping hit Chris Brown has delivered, there's been a shadow following him. A shadow built not just from one mistake, but a series of controversies, arrests, altercations, and public scandals that stretch from 2009 all the way to 2025. This isn't just a career timeline. This is a full reckoning of one of music's most complicated and polarizing stars. From the incident that changed everything with Rihanna, to legal battles in multiple countries, to the most recent 2025 arrest that's making headlines all over again. This is the complete breakdown of Chris Brown's controversy timeline. 2005-2000 the rise of a superstar. Chris Brown burst onto the scene in 2005 at just 16 years old with his self-titled debut album. Songs like Run It, Wos Excuse Me Miss, and Jimmy That made him a teenage heartthrob and a rising legend. By 2007, he had the look, the voice, the dance moves, and the industry was ready to crown him as the next big thing. He starred in films like Stomp the Yard and This Christmas, racked up platinum records, and even drew comparisons to Usher and MJ. Everything seemed perfect until it wasn't. 2009, the Rihanna incident that changed everything. In February 2009, just hours before the Grammy Awards, Chris Brown assaulted his then-girlfriend, pop superstar Rihanna, in a violent altercation that stunned the world. The police report revealed shocking details: facial injuries, bite marks, bruises. When Rihanna's graphic photo was leaked, public outrage exploded. Chris turned himself in and was charged with felony assault and making criminal threats. He eventually accepted a plea deal: 5 years of probation, community service, and domestic violence counseling. Though he avoided jail time, his image was shattered overnight. Sponsors dropped him. Radio stations banned his music. And for many fans, Chris Brown went from icon to irredeemable. It became a cultural reset moment. The incident sparked nationwide conversations about domestic violence, celebrity accountability, and second chances. 2010-2013 trying to rebuild, and more trouble after laying low. Chris returned with his album F.A.M.E. in 2011, which included hits like Look at Me Now and Yeah Threx. It won him a Grammy, but critics were divided. Should someone with his past be celebrated? That same year, he had a meltdown on Good Morning America after being asked about Rihanna, allegedly smashing a window backstage and storming out shirtless. In 2012, Chris and rapper Drake were involved in a violent nightclub brawl in NYC, allegedly over Rihanna. Bottles were thrown, people were injured, and lawsuits followed. By 2013, Chris entered rehab, but it wasn't for healing. He was mandated to anger management after a felony assault charge in Washington, D.C., where he punched a man during an argument. Despite attempts to revive his career with music, Chris couldn't escape the chaos. 2014. Jail time and public backlash after violating his probation for the Rihanna case. Yet again, Chris Brown was sentenced to 131 days in jail in 2014. He served about 2 months, but the message was clear: he wasn't learning. Even after release, fans were increasingly conflicted. His talent was undeniable, but his behavior? Impossible to ignore. Social media began drawing a line. For every person who called it cancel culture, others called it accountability. 2016-2019. Global controversies and allegations. Chris Brown's issues didn't end in the US in 2016. He was arrested after a standoff at his home in LA, where a woman claimed he pointed a gun at her. Though the charges were dropped, the incident became yet another stain on his already long record. Then in 2019, things escalated globally when he was arrested in Paris over rape accusations. Brown vehemently denied the claims and was released with no charges. But the damage was done. Even fans started saying, how many times does this have to happen before we stop supporting him? Despite it all, Chris released albums like Heartbreak on a Full Moon and Indigo, collaborating with younger artists like Tyga and Drake. The music stayed relevant, but so did the controversies. 2020-22 to TikTok fame. This continued legal issues. Believe it or not, Chris Brown saw a surprising resurgence thanks to TikTok. Songs like Go Crazy with Young Thug went viral, introducing him to a new Gen Z audience. But behind the scenes, trouble kept following him. In 2021, he was accused again of hitting a woman during an argument at his Los Angeles home. While no charges were filed, police confirmed the investigation, adding yet another incident to his growing rap sheet. Fans were exhausted. Supporters defended his growth, while critics pointed to the unbroken pattern of aggression, denial, and silence. 2023-2024 a new image, or more smoke and mirrors. Chris tried hard to polish his image in these years. He gave rare interviews, spoke about being misunderstood, and leaned into fatherhood, frequently posting wholesome content with his kids. He even launched a nonprofit to support youth mental health in underserved communities. A move many applauded, but the skepticism lingered. Was this growth or PR? Music critics noted that while his lyrics became less aggressive, his public appearances remained sparse. He seemed to live in two worlds, one where he was still a troubled artist, and another where he was just Chris Brown the dad. And then 2025 happened, 2025. The arrest that sparked a new firestorm in May 2025, Chris Brown was arrested again, this time in Miami, after an alleged physical altercation at a private party. According to police reports, a verbal dispute turned violent when Chris allegedly struck a man over a disagreement related to a music business deal. He was booked on charges of misdemeanor battery and released on bail. But this time, the fallout hit harder than ever before. Why? Because this wasn't just a random incident. It was another violent confrontation, happening after years of warning signs and public promises to change. Within hours, Fat Chris Brown sober trended again. Radio stations began pulling his tracks. Activist groups resurfaced his entire history, calling for a permanent industry boycott. Even longtime fans began to say, enough is enough. A career at the crossroads. As of July 2025, Chris Brown's future is more uncertain than ever. His upcoming tour has been postponed indefinitely, and multiple brand partnerships have been quietly dropped. His legal team has issued a vague statement claiming, the facts will come out, but public opinion has turned cold. What makes Chris Brown so complicated is that he's never disappeared. He's remained charting, streaming, and collaborating. Unlike other canceled celebrities, he found ways to stay relevant. But each return was followed by another controversy. Now, with more artists distancing themselves and fans growing more vocal, it appears the industry may finally be running out of second chances. Oh, can you separate the art from the artist? That's the real question people are asking. Chris Brown's legacy is no longer just about hits and headlines. It's about how much people are willing to forgive, about whether talent outweighs trauma, whether someone who keeps hurting others deserves the spotlight. Some argue he's a product of fame, trauma, and a system that failed to hold him accountable early on. Others say that by 2025, accountability is no longer optional. One thing is clear, Chris Brown's story is far from over. But whether the public wants to keep turning the page is another matter entirely. Chris Brown's journey is a cautionary tale, not just about fame, but about the cost of unresolved violence, unchecked ego, and an industry that often protects the powerful at the expense of accountability. He gave the world unforgettable music and unforgettable headlines. He broke records and broke trust. And now in 2025, as another arrest adds to the long list of incidents, we're left asking, where does the story of Chris Brown end? In redemption or in regret? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Should Chris still have a platform? Do you believe people can truly change? Or is this just a cycle on repeat? Hit that like if you believe in accountability. Subscribe for more raw breakdowns of the celebrities we think we know and the sides we rarely see. Because sometimes the biggest stars have the darkest shadows.